Well, I'm hoping I'm live. Nothing like forcing me to change to the new settings, except by making the other one unavailable. Kia ora koutou, welcome. My name's Joan and I offer a trauma-sensitive yoga practice for you today on day 14. Day 14 of lockdown, ngā hui, and always know that you don't have to do what I say, and at any time you can move into resting form or find a form that you want to move in. Sometimes emotions can come up when we do yoga, and so I encourage you to take care of yourself in whatever way you need to do that. So today's practice will last for about 40 minutes, and firstly I need to say hello to my little grandniece and grandnephew who are practicing with me today. So hello Amaya and hello Jana, who I think are practicing with me today. Amaya is almost 3 and Jana is almost double digits. So welcome to you too. Thinking about how I want to practice today. I'm thinking I would like to start by standing. And I've just realised I've left my clock downstairs. So we'll go on my internal clock and hopefully that will be about 40 minutes. You might like to just check out where you are in the space, and if you don't have a mat, then you could always use a rug or a towel or stand on the carpet. So when you're ready, maybe looking around your space, your bubble, noticing where you are right now. Oops, just see my head got chopped off. We are having a few hiccups today. I think that might be better. Almost, but I might stand back a bit. Please bear with me. And that seems a little bit better. So bringing your awareness to notice where you are in the space. So here was I noticing where I was in the space and realising that the image probably wasn't particularly helpful. So when you're ready, maybe bring your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. And you might do this by lifting and lowering your feet. Maybe lifting and lowering, perhaps moving your feet. And you might notice the sensation of where your feet make contact with the ground, or possibly looking, maybe seeing where your feet make contact with the ground. I meant to mention is you can always do all of the forms from a chair, and I will offer them by a chair. So maybe lifting and lowering your feet, and then guiding yourself to your neutral. And if you like, perhaps standing tall or sitting up tall. Maybe lengthening your torso, perhaps moving your shoulders, maybe bringing your shoulders in line with your seat, perhaps your ankles. And then if you like, bringing your head to balance on your shoulders and breathing. Finding your expression of standing or sitting mountain. Perhaps noticing that your breath is with you. Ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. So when you're ready, you may like to experiment with lifting and lowering your arms, maybe moving your arms. So one option could be to bring your hands to touch above your head. Another option could be lifting and lowering in whatever way you like. So maybe moving your arms. If you're interested, you could coordinate your movement with your breath, knowing there's always a choice and there's no right or wrong way to breathe here. So maybe moving your arms, perhaps coordinating your movement with your breath. Finding your way back to your neutral in your own time. From here, if you're interested, perhaps exploring cats and cows. So cats and cows could be done on a chair. Oops. So maybe seated. So if you're seated on a chair, you could choose to sit forward or back, finding what's right for you. If you like, lengthening your front torso, maybe lifting your chin and looking up. And then in your own time, perhaps tucking your chin, curling your spine, maybe looking down. So those two movements you can put together in your own rhythm. If you're on your mat, what you may like to do is bring your awareness to notice where you place your hands and your knees. Perhaps moving, maybe looking. Then if you like, dipping your spine, lifting your chin and looking up. When you're ready, perhaps curling your spine, tucking your chin and looking down. So you get to put those two movements together in your own rhythm. Maybe looking up, perhaps looking down, and breathing. Perhaps noticing your breath is with you. Maybe moving and breathing. In your own time, you might like to maybe sit back on your ankles, perhaps resting your forehead on your hands and breathing. You might notice the sensation of your breath. You might notice nothing at all. And it's sometimes useful to know that we don't always feel sensation. In fact, most of the time we don't feel sensation. So from here, if you want to experiment with moving your torso, perhaps moving your torso in circles in either direction. Or another option could be moving your torso forward and back. And if you're seated in a chair, maybe moving your torso in circles. Perhaps forward and back. And if you are moving your torso, you might notice a change in pressure where you make contact with the ground, or maybe feeling sensation in your torso. And in your own time, guiding yourself back to your neutral, maybe sitting back on your ankles, perhaps resting your forehead on your hands. If you're seated, maybe bringing your elbows to your knees, perhaps resting your forehead in your hands. If you're interested, you could cross one great toe on top of the other, maybe crossing one great toe on top of the other. If you're on your mat, maybe placing one great toe on top of the other, and breathing. So you're welcome to move. You're always welcome to move in any of the forms. If you like, moving back into all fours, perhaps experimenting with lifting and lowering your leg. If it's available, maybe lifting and lowering your arm, or perhaps lifting and lowering both leg and arm. So this is your practice, it's your choice. Maybe lifting and lowering. If you're in a chair, what you may like to do is perhaps lift and lower. Maybe lifting and lowering your leg, maybe your arm, perhaps both. You might feel some sensation in your abdomen. Finding your way to resting in your own time. Maybe crossing your opposite great toe on top of your great toe this time. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice that you're breathing, that your breath is with you, ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. If you're interested in exploring a lunge, maybe moving to kneeling and perhaps stepping 1 foot forward. You may like to have your hands on your knees or perhaps leaning forward with hands on the ground. Maybe hands out in front. So this is your choice. Maybe exploring a lunge. If you're seated on a chair, perhaps moving to the side of your chair and maybe dropping your knee. Arranging your arms in a way that is useful for you. So you're always welcome to move in the form, maybe bending and straightening your knee. If you like, being guided by your body, perhaps switching in your own time. So maybe moving to kneeling, perhaps stepping your opposite foot forward, and breathing. If you're on a chair, maybe exploring this on your other side, maybe turning to the opposite direction. And breathing. Knowing at any time you're welcome to move into a resting form of your choice. Guiding yourself to resting in your own time and breathing. So next I'm going to offer what sometimes could be called dragon. So maybe there's a couple of options here. So one option is to be on all fours, possibly stepping hands in front. Then if you like, bringing your weight to your hands and looking up. Anytime, maybe moving your torso towards your ankles. That's a choice. Another choice could be to do this from your downward dog. So if you like, bring your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Maybe tucking your toes. If you like, lifting your torso. And perhaps bringing weight to your hands and looking up. Maybe moving in and out of your downward dog. Maybe lifting your torso. Perhaps bringing weight to your hands and looking up. And breathing in your own time. So if you're seated, what you may like to do is to extend your legs, maybe bring your hands to your knees. If you like, bring your hands towards your feet and raising your arms. In your own time, moving your hands to your knees, lowering your hands and raising your arms. Exploring your expression of dragon, maybe raising your arms and looking up. If you like, being guided by your body, maybe moving to resting in your own time. Perhaps sitting back on your ankles. If you like, bringing your forehead to rest on your hands and breathing. Maybe noticing the sensation of your breath. Is it fast or slow, bumpy or smooth, hot or cold? Now, if you're interested, bringing your awareness to notice the sensation of your breath. Then in your own time, maybe finding your way to upright. So you're welcome to move to upright in whatever way you like. If you're interested, you could move through your expression of downward dog. So maybe lifting your torso, perhaps walking your feet towards your hands, and if you like, moving to upright. Finding your expression of standing or seated mountain, moana. Then if you like, moving your shoulders, perhaps moving your shoulders, maybe in circles. Another option could be to bring your fingertips to your shoulders and possibly moving your shoulders by moving your elbows. Maybe moving your elbows. And breathing. Just moving your elbows. Then if you like, finding your way to your neutral, and perhaps experimenting with bringing one hand over to your back. So maybe raising one hand, perhaps bringing your hand to your back, and maybe bending your other elbow and bringing your hand towards your other hand and breathing. You might feel sensation in your shoulders, and you might feel nothing at all. So if you like, bringing your hands to your back, maybe bring one hand over your shoulders, perhaps one hand from lower down. When you're ready, perhaps switching and breathing. Maybe bringing one hand over your shoulders and one hand to your back and breathing. Perhaps noticing your breath is with you. Then in your own time, if you like, giving your hands a bit of a shake, possibly bringing your hands into your line of vision. And Joan's Alzheimer's Day today, so if you like, bringing your thumb and little finger together and thumb and little finger together, and then rotating thumb and little finger to the top. I imagine my little grandniece and grandnephew might call this Incy Wincy spider. So maybe rotating thumb and little finger, thumb and little finger, rotating up, and then in your own time, maybe rotating down. Maybe rotating thumb and little finger down, lowering thumb and little finger. Like giving your hands a bit of a shake. And then perhaps crossing your arms, maybe bringing your hands to your shoulders. You might feel the sensation of your hands making contact with your shoulders. And that is only a possibility. You might feel nothing at all. In your own time, you're welcome to switch. So perhaps crossing your arms in the opposite direction and breathing. If you're interested, you could perhaps experiment with lifting and lowering your chin. So maybe moving your chin. Finding your way back to neutral, and if you like, moving to explore folding forward, which could be bringing your hands to your knees and perhaps leaning forward. Or maybe bringing your elbows to your knees, possibly tucking your chin and breathing. So at any time, you're welcome to move in and out of the form. So maybe moving in and out of your form in your own time. Perhaps bringing your hands to your knees or your elbows. Maybe moving your hands closer to your feet. If you like, moving in and out of your form. And breathing. Then if you like, finding your way to upright and perhaps moving to explore Warrior Two. So in Warrior Two, I will offer it, actually I'll offer it on the chair first. So maybe stepping your feet apart. Then if you like, turning one foot away from your body. Perhaps raising your arms. And breathing. If you like, bringing one elbow to your forward facing knee. Maybe bringing one hand over your head. If you're standing, maybe bring your toes to the long edge of your mat. If you like, turning one foot to the short edge of your mat. Maybe raising your arms. If you like, bringing your elbow to your forward facing knee and breathing. Perhaps noticing that your breath is with you, knowing you're welcome to move in the form, maybe raising your arm, and in your own time, perhaps switching, maybe turning your opposite foot out, away from your body. You like raising your arms, possibly bring your elbow to your forward-facing leg, forward-facing knee, and breathing. If it's of interest to you, maybe raising your arm and breathing. Finding your way to upright in your own time. Your expression of standing or seated moanga. Then if you're interested, perhaps half moon. So you're welcome to explore this with the support of a chair. What you may like to do is bring your hands to the back of your chair. Or you could use a shelf or a piece of other furniture. So maybe walking away from the chair. You like walking your feet away from your chair. Then if you like, raising and lowering, perhaps lifting and lowering your leg. Knowing how much you lift and lower is up to you. So maybe lifting and lowering. At any time, you're welcome to switch. Maybe lifting and lowering. Anytime you're welcome to switch, lifting and lowering your leg. So if you're seated in a chair, maybe extending your arms, perhaps lifting and lowering your leg. And if you're interested, finding your way back to your neutral. Perhaps taking a breath. If you're interested, maybe bending your knees. And perhaps using the support of your chair, perhaps bending your knees. If it's available, maybe moving into what we sometimes call a squat form, perhaps bending your knees, maybe bringing your hands to the floor. If you're on a chair, you may like to bend one knee, maybe bringing one knee close to your torso, or perhaps bending both knees and breathing. So if you like, exploring bending your knees, maybe squatting, maybe sitting, breathing. At any time, you're welcome to move into a seated form on your mat, or maybe a resting form. If you are seated, sometimes it's useful to put a small blanket under your seat. It can sometimes offer support to your spine. So you may like to have your legs crossed. If you're interested in exploring a twisting form, perhaps with your legs crossed or maybe extended, possibly soles of your feet together, finding a seated form that works for you. Then if you like, turning your chin to your left shoulder and perhaps bringing your right hand to your left knee and your other hand behind you and sitting up tall. Then if it's available, you may like to experiment with rotating your spine. You get to choose how much you want to rotate. Maybe twisting and breathing. Possibly feeling sensation through your abdomen. Maybe feeling nothing at all. At any time, perhaps moving back to center, perhaps sitting up tall. If you've got your legs crossed, maybe crossing them in the opposite direction. If you like, bringing your chin to your right shoulder, maybe your left hand to your right knee and your right hand behind you, and sitting up tall. In your own time, maybe rotating, perhaps rotating your spine. You get to experiment with how you want to move. And sometimes we can be guided by how that feels in our body. Finding your way back to neutral. And if you like, leaning forward. This time I'm going to bring the soles of my feet together. You're welcome to have your feet however you like. So maybe bringing your hands to your knees and tucking your chin. Or possibly leaning forward, maybe bringing your hands closer to your feet and breathing. Maybe noticing your breath is with you. And one way of noticing your breath could be to count it. So counting each breath to 3. So counting, breathe in, count 1. Breathing in, count 2. Breathing in, count 3. And then starting again. So that's a choice. If you want to count your breath, you're welcome to do that. At any time, you're welcome to bring your hands behind you, perhaps leaning back and breathing. Possibly noticing your breath is with you. And from here, if you would like, moving into some forms on your abdomen. So if you're seated in your chair, maybe extending your legs, perhaps raising your arms, maybe bending your elbows. If you're on your mat, perhaps bringing your elbows under your shoulders and possibly bringing your hands to rest on your mat. And you can choose where you want to look. If it's available to you, maybe pressing in with your hands, perhaps lifting and lowering your torso. At any time, you're welcome to bring your forehead to rest on your hands. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground, the surface beneath you. And if you like, maybe moving back, maybe using your hands, perhaps sitting back on your ankles and maybe resting your forehead on your hands. If you're seated in a chair, maybe bringing your elbows to your knees, perhaps resting your forehead in your hands and breathing. Another option could be to extend your arms. So that's a choice. If you're not sure, you could see how that feels for you. If it feels okay, you're welcome to do that. And from here, for the last part of the practice, perhaps moving onto your back. So if you're seated, you might like to experiment with moving your knees. You could move them individually or together. So if you're on your back, perhaps extending your arms and perhaps moving your knees from one side of your mat to the other side of your mat. If you like, moving your knees from one side of your mat to the other side of your mat in your own rhythm. Another option could be to lift your feet off the ground, maybe bringing your hands around your knees. And if you like, moving your knees from one side to your other side, or possibly moving your knees forward and back. So you get to choose how you want to move as this is your practice. Possibly moving your knees and perhaps feeling a change in pressure if you're moving your knees. You might feel a change in sensation when you make contact with the ground. So, last part of the practice for today is moving your feet. Maybe moving your feet forward and back. Another option could be from side to side. So like moving your feet forward and back, or possibly in circles. So there's a few choices there. Maybe moving your feet in circles, or forward and back, or side to side. So taking your time to choose how you want to move. Maybe moving your feet. So for the last part of the practice, I offer a brief body scan exercise. So you're welcome to follow my voice or tune my voice out. I certainly hope this is recording. And I hope I'm getting the timing right, since I don't know what time it is. So, finding a resting form that could be lying on your back, maybe with a cushion under your knees, or maybe seated in a chair with a cushion under your feet. So perhaps finding a resting form that works for you, maybe on your side, perhaps your back, maybe seated, perhaps your abdomen. And then if you like, taking a breath. Perhaps noticing that you're breathing, that your breath is with you. If you're interested in following my body scan exercise, you could take your mind to the part, or your hand, or maybe moving the part. And maybe taking your mind to the part I name, perhaps moving that part, or maybe taking your hand to that part. So in your own time, you might like to bring your awareness to notice sensation at your eyebrow center. Sensation at the tip of your nose. Sensation in your jaw, perhaps moving your jaw. sensation in your neck, sensation in the whole of your right arm, sensation in your neck, sensation in the whole of your left arm, sensation in your neck, sensation in your heart center, Araha, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your right leg, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your left leg, sensation in your abdomen, sensation at your heart center, Araha, sensation in your neck, sensation at the tip of your nose, sensation at your eyebrow center, sensation in the whole of your body, your entire body, all of your body, all together. I'm going to offer some silence, and then I'll ring the chime for an opportunity for you to close your practice. So do know there's no hurry to move. And when you do want to move, maybe wriggling your fingers and toes. And if you're on your mat, maybe moving to rest on your side for a short time. If you like, maybe taking a moment to acknowledge your practice, your purpose. It could be to nurture yourself, maybe to connect with yourself. So if you like, taking a moment to acknowledge your practice to yourself. So in your own time, finding your way back into the world, you may like to take a breath, maybe bring your awareness to notice where you make contact the ground. I'd like to thank you for practicing with me. I've got no idea how long we've been here, so hopefully it is a reasonable amount of time. I think it's about 45 minutes, but I might be wrong. So I'm grateful for you practicing with me, for giving me a focus at this time of Rahui lockdown. Take care. I trust you are all well in your bubbles, and I will see you tomorrow, same time, 12 midday, and hopefully the streaming is working. Okay, bye bye.